What's that? We're ready? We're live? Oh, okay. Thank you, Gibby. Yes, I am on scene right now where I am getting reports that there may be some kind of a conspiracy or corporate cover up or even some kind of sabotage concerning Lee and Lee Infinity fans and Elk Connect software and even Asus Ryujin 2 360 AIOs. I don't know what to make of it. We're waiting for more details to come in. As soon as we have them, we'll get back to you. Now back to you in the studio. Okay, that was our field correspondent, Gib Cronkite, coming to us from the field with breaking news. So we do have more details in now, and I'm going to elaborate on them right now. So what has come up is a concern with the Lee and Lee SL120 Infinity fans. Everyone is in love with these fans. Everyone knows what they look like. They're fantastic fans. But in the process of my build, I discovered something that I have not seen anything mentioned about, and I wanted to bring it to your attention so that you don't fall into the same pitfall that I did. Now, obviously, my build is further along than where you're at in your build because you should be watching this somewhere around episode 3 or 4, which is the fans video and the AIO video. We're talking about not only the Infinity fans, but also the Elk Connect software and the Asus Ryujin 2 360 AIO. So let's get into it. The first thing is, if you buy these fans, the Infinity fans, you have a choice. You can get a single pack, you can get a triple pack. Now the single pack will come with a connector like this. It has a PWM plug and it has your 5-volt ARGB plug, okay? And that's useful for a lot of things. However, if you get the 3-pack, you get the Lee and Lee hub, and you're going to get connectors that look like this. They have that proprietary plug on the end. It's both your RGB and your fan power included. And just like with the other plug, you can daisy chain the fans together and connect one cable. Well, there's a problem with it. You can accidentally connect this wrong, and I'm going to show you how that happens in just a moment. But before I do, I want to explain a little bit more. The Lee and Lee hub uses dual SATA power connections. The reason for that is you can connect 16 of these fans to this one hub, 4 per channel. That doesn't mean 5 on one channel and 3 on another. A maximum of 4 fans per channel, and there's 4 channels. And then, of course, you can hook up accessories like if you have the Lee and Lee Gilahad AIO and other things that they make. So it takes a lot of power to power that many fans, so you have 2 SATAs. And the hub also obviously connects to the motherboard, and then you can use the Elk Connect software. You can also use your motherboard software. There's a connection on it so that you can override or do without the Elk Connect software and just use your motherboard software. So it's a really cool setup. So the concern is that when you're connecting the power wire to your fan, whether you've got 3 daisy chained together or not, you're going to connect it, and you would just connect it like this and lock it in place. Well, you can also connect it wrong, like I just did. Now, I didn't notice it when I did it because, number one, you can see I wear glasses, and sometimes I take them off depending on what I'm doing. And, you know, the lighting may not have been good. I may not have noticed it because although it is a little bit tough to get the connector on, it's not so difficult that you couldn't easily make that mistake. And there's not really a definitive marking that shows you that you're putting it on wrong. So what I'm going to show you is how this should plug in and what it looks like when it's wrong. So when you connect it, you just essentially lay the connector on these spring-loaded pins. Okay, it doesn't go on that side that's flat. It goes on the pin side. It should drop in place just that easily. See how it'll just pop right out of there? That's the correct way. And then you slide it forward and it locks in place. Now, this little lock indicator, this is referring to this little cap that's on top that pops off, and you can flip the wire to the other side, turn this cap around, and now you can have your wire going out that way and you lock it back in place. Okay? That's a really nifty thing, and that's great. And I wish that there was an indicator on the main plug. The only indicator that I have found to make sense of this, there's a tiny little dash on the side, and there's no way the camera is going to pick it up. But if you have these fans, you look at the plug, you'll see a little tiny mark. When you go to put this plug in place, it should be in the middle between the two arrow marks that are on the body of the fan. If it is, then you're correct, and then you simply slide it and it locks in place. And as you can see, there's no gap showing. If you've done it incorrectly, then what's going to happen is, one, it's going to be a little difficult to put in, just like that. And then when you slide it to lock it, now you see there's a gap there. The fan and the RGB will not work if the plug is wrong. It will absolutely not work. And you'll be wondering why. What's wrong with my fan? Something's not right. You'll start really scratching your head. And that's kind of what happened to me when I first powered up my height. I knew it was something simple. I just didn't realize that it was something that simple and that easy to overlook. So make sure that you pay close attention to how you hook this up, whether you use the 2-wire split system or you use the single one. The idea is the exact same. All right, so that's it on the fan. Now, in terms of the hubs, I need to make a really good point about the Asus Ryujin 2 360 AIO hub. Now, I like this hub. It's nice. It's metal. It's solid. It's even got screw spacings on the back, just like an SSD would, so that you can mount it to places with screws instead of the sticky tape that's not very good, and I don't like using it anyway. And incidentally, the same magnetic sticky pack that fits on the Li & Li fits exactly in this area as well. It's a really nice hub, but I have a couple of complaints that you need to be aware of. This hub is meant for 4 fans maximum. Not 4 groups of fans, 4 fans, period. It only has 1 SATA power wire. And if you think about it, 4 fans with RGB or without, RGB doesn't use that much power, but it does use some. But the fans themselves, they pull a good bit of power, especially when they're at high RPM. They have to get that power somewhere. Well, when I had everything hooked up to this one hub, even though some of my fans weren't working, this was getting warm. And that's not a good sign. So I knew something wasn't right. Another thing is, if you notice, you have 3 RGB connections and 1 fan connection on this side. You have 3 fan connections and 1 RGB connection on this side. Now, that's a very strange configuration, and I don't like ARGB connectors anyway. They're just a straight pin. The plugs fall out very easy, and they definitely fall out of this easily. I had a lot of trouble trying to secure and zip tie them so that they had some slack but weren't going to fall out. It was aggravating. Also, when I connected the main RGB in from the motherboard to the hub, the actual connector bent backwards inside the hub. Now, fortunately, it didn't break. I was able to bend it back carefully with a screwdriver. And that plug actually locks in place on this end. So when I was putting it in the header, I didn't realize I wasn't quite aligned properly. And so when I pushed it to lock it in, I actually bent the little header back. Then you have your SATA, and then you have your micro USB connection that goes to the actual pump. Now, if you're using the Infinity fans with this particular AIO, I recommend you use this hub for the pump. You have to. The pump and the screen will be handled by this only. And then use the Li & Li hub for the fans. Because, number one, you don't want to overload this hub. If you're using anything close to 9 or 10 or 12 fans, this hub's not going to be able to handle it anyway. You're still going to need to power those fans off the motherboard or something. You might as well use a hub that it was made for them. And so that means in most cases it's better to buy the 3-packs. Let's say you need 10 fans. We'll get 3-packs and then a single pack. You're going to have some extra cables and things left over. So, they send you one for each fan, even in the 3-pack. So they're very generous with the cables. So that's not going to be a problem. But I have that set up now, and I've tested it, and it works wonderfully. Now that brings me to my final point, and that is the L-Connect software. L-Connect 3 software is pretty nice, and it's very well integrated into your system, and it can control a lot of things and give you a lot of effects on the RGB as well as control over the fans. However, if you're using the Infinity fans, there is a different version of the software that they recommend you use. If you don't, it will not pick up your CPU and GPU temperatures, and so the fan curve won't actually speed up your fans properly. Now, finding that software is a little bit tricky. It is on the website, but it's not obvious at first glance because most people go to a website, they look for the newest version of software, and they download it. Well, in a moment, I'm going to show you exactly where it's at on their website and how to install it, because it is a manual install and it's a little weird, especially if you're used to just clicking a Windows installer. This installer is a little different, and I don't want you to get messed up with it. One quick note though, while I was setting up BIOS and installing Windows and doing all these things, my radiator fans were not operating. The pump was working fine, and it didn't overheat. I didn't have any shutdown. I think that the hottest my CPU got was 48 degrees Celsius with no fans running on the radiator. This AIO is amazing. It is fantastic. So you can have confidence that it's going to be okay. You're not going to damage anything if you run into a brief problem. My other fans came on, and all of them would have had I connected them properly. So you should, if you're using the same setup, you should see all your fans at least come on to a medium speed. They weren't full speed, they were medium, and it turned my height into a portable air conditioner, and that's the truth. So I'm going to pause here, readjust the camera, and I'm going to show you that software. Okay, so I'm going to put a link to this site in the description, because if you get to it through their main website, it's a little weird. Their website's kind of slow right now, and it's weird sometimes. So I'll put a link directly to this page, and immediately what you're going to see is download L-Connect 3 right there. And that's what most people would think to do. But if you just take a minute, and I'm speaking from experience, I'm not accusing anyone. If you read right here, for Unifan SL INF users, please keep using version 1.3.16 to be updated version and changelog. Now remember that this is translated from Chinese or another language like that to English. So it reads a little strange. And so what you want to do is click where it says V1.3.16 and you're going to see a download. Okay, so once it's downloaded, click Show in Folder. And you can see it's got a 1 because I've already downloaded it. So right click, Extract All. It's going to pick a folder, put it where you want to, extract. Okay, so now what you're going to see is the executable. Now, when you click on this, it's going to start installing. And then you're going to click Run Connect. Now, you can see that my GPU temperature and my CPU temperature is present. Now, if you come over to SL Infinity, it should update like that. If it does not, it's because the firmware needs to be updated. So then you go to Setting, go to Update, click Check right here where it says SL INF. Don't click Check under LConnect 3 because remember, you're using a previous version. It will try to make you update to the newer version. You don't want that. So you click Check and hopefully nothing will happen. However, if you've already installed LConnect, you have the wrong version, you're having this problem, there's a fix for that as well. If you've already installed the newer version of LConnect 3 and you're having problems, what you have to do is you have to manually update your firmware. You may even get an error when you try to do it through the software. And right here, it says update manually. Simply click that. You're going to download this tool. You're still on the Lee & Lee website, so this isn't junk. But what you're going to have these different these different folders within the folder that you're going to download. Each one has the INF files for each type of fan. And you can see one of the folders is for SL Infinity. So this is what it looks like. You download it. There it is. Show in folder. It's right there. Do the same exact thing. Extract all. And then you're going to get FW Update Tools. If you click that, you see those folders are there. So now what you're going to do is you're going to run the FW Update Tools. You're going to get this weird looking screen. This is what I was talking about. This isn't like a normal installer. It's a little bit different. You have to tell it what to do. So the first thing you want to do is scan device. Scan done, it saw I have Infinity fans. Well, now we need to tell it the bin file, INF file, similar, so that it can update. So what we're going to do is we're going to hit browse and we're going to come right back to the same folder and we're going to go to that SL Infinity folder because that's the fans we have. If you're dealing with SL 140s, 120s, or AL 120s, you would obviously go into that folder. We're going to go into the Infinity folder. We're going to just click on this bin file. It says, warning, it's the same as current firmware version. Please select the newer version. That's because I've already done this. If you have not, Then it's going to populate in this field, and you're going to hit start update, and then it's going to say some very strange translated to English things, and you're going to laugh a little bit, and when you're done, you're going to have to restart your L-Connect software, not your computer, but you can, and then once you start back up, everything's going to work perfectly, just like mine is. So it's really easy. It's just not necessarily easy to find it unless you have taken a little time to dig into the issue and find it. So there you go. And so from there, you can see I have a high-speed fan curve set, but because my temperature is so low, the fans are only running at 945. No, actually they're running at almost 1100 now. And they're very quiet. They're extremely quiet at that RPM. So I hope that that clears things up, saves you some aggravation, and makes this process a little bit easier. Okay, so as you can see, no conspiracy, no corporate cover-up, no sabotage. I hope you enjoyed this. I hope that it cleared things up. If you're having a problem, I hope it settled it and helped you get it straightened out. If you didn't already run into this, I hope it saves you from the same aggravation I had. Now, one quick note about this. When I discovered the problem, I obviously had to remove my fans so I could get to the connectors and change them out. In my cable management video, I mentioned how important it is that you don't just bundle all your wires together, that you keep them segregated apart from, fan wires from your main wires and things like that. It took me less than 5 minutes to unzip tie all my fan wires and get my fans out, change the plugs, and be back in business and have working fans. That's because I took the time to do the cable management properly. So when you get to that video, please pay attention to it. It's going to help you and save you in case you do run into some weird situation. As always, thank you for joining me in Gibby's World of Tech. I'll see you on the next one.